Probably when you click on this video, you're going to find the best answer ever to learning different languages, which I hope maybe you do. Maybe you'll find the best answer. But learning a language is a very challenging thing. I, for example, have spent 2 years learning Russian. It took a long time before I could start understanding the language. I studied words, studied grammar, tried to speak, understood here and there, but it just kind of came with time over all of it. But today I just want to kind of talk about some principles in learning languages, because learning a language is hard, it takes time, but once you learn one language, you could learn another one, and it becomes a little easier because you start recognizing patterns. So maybe one of the best things is, what should I do to start learning a language? Well, you kind of need a purpose for it. If you're just learning a language by yourself, it's going to be a lot harder. If you have a friend also learning the language, or a language that you want to learn, it's going to be 10 times better, because then you can work together, you can hold each other accountable, and you can just continue learning the language at an accelerated rate. You have to set certain goals, number goals. You can't say, I want to speak better Russian. That's not measurable. It won't work. You have to say, I want to learn 10 words a day in order to speak better Russian. Putting a time on it. It's kind of making it a SMART goal, if you ever heard that. A SMART goal is just an abbreviation for specific. It's 5 things, 5 letters. Specific, measurable, so that's the S and the M. A, achievable. R, realistic. And T, timeable, or time-bound. And so if you do that check on your goals, you're good. So 10 words a day, 10 words, boom. Measurable, a day, time, boom. Realistic, yeah, you can learn 10 words. Is it specific? Yeah, 10 words, that's pretty specific. And it checks out on all the things. If you've already been studying a language for a while and you're still having a hard time understanding what people are talking about, at least for me, that's how it was. I was 6 months in Ukraine and I was having a hard time. Of course, people also speak Ukrainian, so that didn't help with learning the language. But I'd say one thing to do is to, I've got the word in Russian, it's vyuchit. I guess it's learn. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Is to learn all the most common verbs in the language. Because verbs, literally, you can't really do a sentence without verbs. Sometimes you can, but you need a verb in the sentence. Like, I am going to the store. I eat food. I think about life. All those contain a verb, and then you can kind of guess what the rest of the sentence is talking about based on context. At least when I did this, I started studying and I learned all 100 of the most common verbs and how they conjugated or how they changed when you spoke. And that helped a ton. I could start understanding a lot more in the language. And then I learned more words and more words. And by maybe a year, I could understand a good part of stuff. By a year and a half, I was going. I could understand so much. It was awesome. I could actually speak what I wanted to. And then by the end of the 2 years, it was like, wow, now my brain's working in Russian. I came home and it was pretty hard, but that's what I'm getting at, is kind of study the most common things, and verbs are one of the most common things to study. Actually, when I was over there in Ukraine and Moldova, we would help people learn English. And we would break it up into categories. The more organized you are in a language, the better it is going to be for you to learn the language. And we broke it up into reading, writing, listening, speaking, and there's one more. And I can't think. Probably vocabulary was a category we had in there. And grammar. So maybe 6 categories. And we kind of focused on maybe 2 or 3 of these categories with people, so that way they could see how they were improving with it and how they're getting better. Getting constant feedback is also a great tool. I loved, especially when I was learning the language, when I had other friends who were from America or from other countries also learning Russian. I loved trying to figure out where they made mistakes when they were talking. Not to be like, oh, hey, you made a mistake, but so I could write it down, realize, oh, I think I also say this wrong. Or, wow, I would also write down things they would say, like, wait, you said it like this. Does it mean like this? And allowed to better understand what was going on. So keeping track of things that you don't know or things that you hear that are wrong helps both you and them. And then, at least when you're correcting others later in the language, or maybe you're in a class right now learning a language, kind of write it down and then be like, hey, I just have some feedback for you. I noticed you were saying these things and I don't think they're right. Don't try to be like, you're absolutely wrong. Why would you say it like this? But be understanding, and do it in a way that best applies to them. Because everyone's different. I mean, some people can take the feedback right away. I love writing it down because I'm going to remember if I write it down. And the more I get corrected, sure, it might be annoying because I make the same mistake all the time, the better it is. In Russian, there's the phrase, "Повторение мать учения," which means repetition is the mother of teaching. And so the more we repeat something, then we'll remember it. And in the end of things, we can actually learn it. So I'd say that's some pretty good advice for learning different languages. Maybe you could even apply that to other aspects of life. And so thanks for watching and have a great day.